All right, welcome back to the Meal Prep Solution. If you are watching this video, you either won this as a prize for your 6 weeks of accountability posts inside of our group, so congratulations. Or maybe you got this as a bonus add-on, so welcome. Today we are going to be doing week 7, which week 7 through 12 start to introduce some more classic French techniques. You might learn some things that aren't as simple as some of the meals we've been doing in the beginning, but there's also some really simple meals in here too. I think the burrito bowls is one of the easiest cooking recipes inside the course, the pad thai lettuce cups, of course. But the cheesecake, the cherry cheesecake cups is probably the most difficult dessert recipe that we have inside the course. It doesn't mean that it's difficult, it's just the most involved. We got to get the stand mixer out or a hand mixer. And so let's dive in. Let's go ahead and get started with the crock pot brisket. I've got the brisket in the crock pot with the fat cap down because it's on high, and I just had to get it in there because I got a giant brisket. So I actually cut it in half, and I have another half on the stove cooking slow for some Korean soup. So let's go ahead and add to the crock pot our brisket. Let's add our stevia or brown. I'm using brown stevia. You can also use raw honey, you can use dark maple syrup, you can use brown stevia, granulated stevia, monk fruit. You can use liquid stevia, liquid monk fruit, whatever you like. Let's add, let's see, 1 cup of vinegar. I'm using organic apple cider vinegar because it's full of natural probiotics that are good for your gut, and it's also like very antiviral, antibacterial. But you can use any vinegar you like. I would say other than like balsamic. Let's add about a cup of broth. I'm using the no sugar added organic chicken broth. I just threw in whatever was left in that container because it's been kicking around in the fridge. But if you feel like measuring, please do. Let's add a container of diced onion. I had to chop mine. There were no pre-chopped ones in the store. All right, and let's add some, let's see, we did onion, we did broth, we did vinegar. Oh, 1 small can of tomato paste. You'll see there's a theme today, and that I don't have a lot of things that are listed exactly how they're listed on the recipe because the store didn't have them. But I'm going to add, instead of a whole small can of tomato paste, I'm just going to add a whole 15-ounce can of tomato sauce. Whatever you have is fine. This recipe is very forgiving, and you'll see once the brisket is done, you can taste and adjust the sauce and pour it over your brisket, and it's very forgiving, I promise. Okay, let's add 2 tablespoons of paprika. Hopefully you have these all measured out beforehand. If not, you can stop and measure. 1 tablespoon of onion powder and 1 tablespoon of garlic powder. I'm out of garlic powder, so I'm just going to do 2 tablespoons of onion powder. That's the last of that. And then let's add 2 teaspoons of smoked paprika, more or less to your taste. If you don't like smoky flavor, you can leave it out, but I think it adds a nice kind of barbecue flavor to this sauce. And then, of course, we're going to add a decent amount of salt and pepper here. I'm going to do 2 3-finger pinches of pepper and 2 5-finger pinches of salt. You can do less and taste and adjust later, but I have a giant brisket here, so let me bring it over to you and show you what it looks like. Ooh, right? So I'm just going to pop it in there like this. And we will let that cook for about, oh gosh, I don't know. I would say 4 to 6 hours, and I'll probably move it around so that the onions get down to the bottom and the sauce can mix up. But for right now, just go ahead and get it in there. Alexa, set a reminder for 4 hours.
What's the reminder for?
Brisket.
Okay, I'll remind you in 4 hours.
All right, so now let's take a couple sheet trays lined with parchment paper. I do these in advance when I do my mise en place, so it's ready to go. And we're gonna do, if you're doing okra, you can cut the tops of the okra off and cut the pods in half lengthwise and just throw them on a sheet tray like that. I'm gonna do a bag of organic green beans. Now, green beans have made the Dirty Dozen list for a second year in a row now. And so try to find organic if you can, and if you can afford it. I usually look through to make sure there aren't any stems. This one looks pretty good. So just like that, arrange your okra or your green beans on a sheet tray. So if you're doing okra and you need to pause this recipe to cut the tops off and slice all the pods in half lengthwise, please do that now. All right, once you've got your okra or your green beans on a sheet tray, let's go ahead and season with salt and pepper. And I'm actually going to drizzle with oil. I usually spray, but I'm going to leave my spray for my eggs. And I forgot to order more spray, so I'm going to drizzle with avocado oil. Drizzle or spray with avocado oil. We want to do something that has a high smoke point like avocado oil. Oh my gosh, this bottle's almost done. Let's grab another bottle. Because we don't want to smoke out our kitchen and use something like olive oil because we're going to cook these in the broiler, right? All right, here's another bottle. Now we're going to get our second sheet tray that's lined with parchment paper, and we're going to pour our cut cauliflower florets onto it. I had to cut my own. The store didn't have any pre-chopped ones. So this is 1 head of cauliflower, or you can do 1 or 2 bags of cauliflower florets, how much you think your family would like. We love cauliflower. Has such a nice meaty texture, doesn't it? Okay, so let's sprinkle our cauliflower with turmeric. You can use as much or as little as you would like. This is your food. I want you to make it exactly how you would like it. A little bit of black pepper. Now, interesting fact is black pepper is one of the ingredients that activates the anti-inflammatory properties of turmeric. So you want to make sure you use that whenever you can. A little splash of water goes on the tray. Let me bring this over so you can see. As we roast this in the broiler, I'll mix it up a couple times, 1 or 2 times, and then I'll help evenly distribute that turmeric. But that's what that looks like. This is what my beans look like. Let's go ahead and turn our backs, pop these in the broiler on the bottom shelf at 500 degrees on high. And we'll set a timer for about 10 minutes and we'll check it. The cauliflower will probably take about 15, big green beans, maybe 12 or 13. Alexa, set a reminder for 15 minutes.
What's the reminder for?
Cauliflower and green beans.
Okay, I'll remind you in 15 minutes.
Okay, so once you've got your brisket in the crock pot, you've got your okra or your green beans or whatever vegetable you're using, and your cauliflower or broccoli or whatever vegetable you're using in the broiler, let's come back to center with our bacon, cheddar, spinach, egg cups. Take a second to put some things away and make space. We're going to need this vinegar for the pad thai, so you can put this over there, put your turmeric away, tidy up if you need, and let's come back with bacon, cheddar, spinach, egg cups. Okay, so for the bacon cheddar spinach egg cups, we are going to get a sheet tray. You can either line it with parchment paper, you can line it with a silicone baking mat, or you can do what I'm gonna do today and line it with a cookie, what do you call this? Cooling rack. Okay. Just another technique you can try to cook your bacon on a sheet tray in the broiler until it's crispy. So take your bacon out. Just go ahead and line it up side by side on your sheet tray, like we've done how many times before? Several times. You can get them nice and close at this point because they do shrink up a bit as they cook. So don't worry too much about having them spaced out tremendously. Just try to squeeze them all on one sheet tray. So this is the Kroger brand of no sugar added uncured bacon. If you can get an organic bacon that's sugar-free and uncured from a local farmer that raises their pigs on pasture, even better. There's a place in Nashville called Smokin' Oaks Organic Farms. They have organic pasture-raised uncured sugar-free bacon. It's expensive, but it is delicious and anti-inflammatory. So you can try that if you'd like. All right. Get your bacon all lined up like cute little soldiers that they are. And we are going to pop this in the broiler on the middle rack, and we're going to cook it for about 10 to 13 minutes. We'll check it after 10 minutes. Alexa, set a reminder for 10 minutes.
What's the reminder for?
Bacon.
Okay, I'll remind you in 10 minutes.
Okay, so turn your back and wash your hands and come back. Now, being mindful as our bacon is cooking, we are not just going to let Alexa remind us. We're going to be using our senses. Can we smell the bacon? Let's check on it. Can we hear the bacon really sizzling and going crazy in there? Let's check on it, okay? Last thing we want to do is burn our expensive bacon. So let's go ahead and chop before we get into like the eggs and we have dirty hands again. Let's chop up a handful of organic baby spinach. You can use as much or as little as you'd like, you know. The rest of this is going to be for smoothies for us. Go ahead and pop that in the fridge. And then we're just going to use that chiffonade motion that you learned inside the knife skills class to chiffonade the spinach. Chiffonade just means long ribbons. And I'll show you one in a second. If you haven't taken the knife skills class yet, go back and do that. It is absolutely invaluable. It will help you cut your time down and how long it takes you to do your mise en place. You know, we try to utilize as many store-bought, you know, we try to take as much help from the grocery store as possible, right? By buying the pre-chopped broccoli and the sliced carrots and yada, yada, yada. But sometimes I don't have it. So it's really important to have good knife skills. Or garden season is coming up. So if you're a gardener like me and you're going to be eating from the garden, you won't have a choice but to chop your vegetables. So these are important life skills. So go ahead and just run your knife through it so you can see it's like little ribbons, right? That's called a chiffonade. And then what I like to do, just because, you know, these are going in muffins and they're small, and I want to make sure that my daughter's not like, look at that. What is that weird, like long, gross looking thing? I just come back through with my knife and use the mincing motion, holding the tip of the knife and rocking back and forth just to chop it up finely. It goes over really well for me in my household. If you don't care about this part, I mean, your kids don't mind or your family doesn't mind eating long ribbons of spinach, then just skip this part. All right, once you've got it nicely chopped up, you can pop it into your bowl. We're going to do all the things that don't require washing our hands first, and then we'll do the egg last, and then wash our hands and come back. So let's add a splash of almond milk. You could do coconut milk, cashew milk, any type of unsweetened soy-free plant milk that you like. For me, that splash was about a quarter cup. And then let's add, let's see, how much? Let's add a handful of soy-free vegan cheddar. About half of that, I would say. And then we're going to sprinkle some more on top. Now, while we're thinking of it, let's also add salt and pepper. So I'm going to do 2 3-finger pinches of salt and 1 3-finger pinch of pepper. And then as you're reheating them and as you're eating and you're cutting it, so then you can always add. Okay. All right, so now we can do the messy part. We can get our eggs cracked and in the bowl. I'm going to try to not crack them on my cutting board because I don't want to have to watch that. So let me move this little tray over and I'll try to crack on this. Let's see if I can do it. Okay. So I just got these eggs out of the garden from our chickens today. And I wanted to show you this giant one. Let's see, I've got 2 eggs in here. Let me see if I can show you. Got 2 eggs in here. You see that? Okay. Let's see if this egg has 2 yolks in it. It's a huge one. So my guess is that it does. So let's see. Look at that. 4 eggs. That was a huge egg. You'll never see those in the grocery store. They're never going to get those out because they don't fit in the carton. So I grabbed 11 eggs because I knew that that one had 2 yolks in it. So go ahead and crack yourself 12 organic pastured eggs, or pasture raised at the very least if you can't find or afford the organic pastured. I know they're very expensive these days. Perks of having your own chickens. Even though I must say organic chicken feed, not cheap either. So I don't know which is cheaper to just like buy eggs and raise your own. I don't know if they're any cheaper. It's kind of like fun to do, I guess. Okay. Okay. Once you've got your eggs all cracked, go ahead and turn your back and wash your hands. Come back and whisk your eggs up. We're going to set this aside because we need to chop up that bacon and add it to it. And then we need to turn the oven down so that we can cook these at 350. But at least we have these started. And one of the things that I was going to say today is if you are interested in cooking your meals a la minute versus cooking in advance and reheating, what you could do is pop a lid on this and pour out using, like, what I would do is use like maybe like a 1/4 cup. You can see if that's enough. A 1/4 cup is usually what I use, I think. 1/4 cup measure in the morning to bake your eggs. Just know that it's going to take about 20 to 30 minutes to bake eggs versus a few minutes to reheat it if you're using a microwave, right? So you could do that. Your eggs will be nice and fresh and delicious. So what we'll do is spray our tin out. Okay, that's a timer for our cauliflower and green beans. Let's go ahead and check on them and come back to our eggs. Okay, mine need a lot more time. So we've got Alexa, she set a timer for us, so we're fine. So we'll check them after 15 minutes when that reminder goes off. Go ahead and check yours. How are your okra or your green beans or your turmeric or your broccoli, whatever you chose to use? How are they doing? Are they ready to come out of the broiler? Or do they need more time? If they're done, you can pull them out, taste them for salt and pepper. If they need more time, then cook. So because I don't have any more spray oil, I'm using regular avocado oil and just a little pastry brush here to move it all around the sides of my muffin tin, cupcake tin, so that hopefully my eggs don't stick. I went out and bought a new one of these after week 1 or week 2 last time I ran the course because my eggs were sticking horribly. And so if your eggs are sticking to your muffin tin, it's time to get a new muffin tin. or you can line them with silicone liners. Oh, what am I doing here? Let's start with a quarter cup measure and see if that's enough to get us to fill these muffin tins, because we need to leave space. I think that's perfect, yeah. We need to leave space for our chopped bacon, and we'll put some more vegan cheese on top. So go ahead and grab yourself a quarter cup measure, and in between each scoop, just give your mixture a stir to make sure you're getting, you know, cheese and eggs and spinach in every swirl. And portion out your egg bake, making sure that you're really getting that quarter cup full to the top so you get the same amount of eggs in each one so that they bake evenly. So as you start to get lower and lower, it becomes harder and harder to fill the quarter cup measure up. So you might pour like I'm doing. Oh my gosh, it's perfect. It's exactly 12. Isn't it wild? Oh, I love it when that happens. So now we'll set these aside. We're not going to put them on the stove because we don't want them to start cooking, but we'll set them aside somewhere and come back to them. Actually, I'm going to put them on the tray. Come back to them after we chop our bacon, and we'll sprinkle our bacon in there, and then we'll top it with a little bit more cheese, and then we'll bake these at 350. Okay, so let's set these aside. And then take a second to clean up, put anything away that we don't need, and come back to center with our burrito white rice bowls. Do any dishes that you need to do. I'm going to wash up my cutting board because I ended up spilling some on there.
Laura, here is your reminder. Bacon. Laura, here is your reminder. Bacon.
All right, there's a reminder for bacon, which means that it's been in there for, I don't remember, 10 minutes. So let's check our bacon before we tidy up. Oh, wow, look at that. The back of my oven is clearly hotter than the front. I've got one piece of bacon that looks good and the rest is still undercooked. I'm going to take this piece of bacon off, okay? And then I'm going to rotate my pan. So I'm going to put the part that was in the back in the front so that it can cook more evenly. So go ahead and do the same. Check on your bacon. If it's done, take it out. Okay, you can put it on a paper towel lined sheet tray or plate. I just take the bacon off and put it on a plate without a paper towel. Try not to waste paper towels. If it's not done and you need to rotate it to make sure it cooks evenly, go ahead and rotate it and pop it back in. For me, I'm going to set a timer for 3 minutes and we'll come back to it. Alexa, set a reminder for 3 minutes.
What's the reminder for?
Bacon.
Okay, I'll remind you in 3 minutes.
Okay, now we can tidy up, do any dishes we need to do, put anything away that we can put away, and come back with our burrito white rice bowls.
Laura, here is your reminder. Cauliflower and green beans. Laura, here is your reminder. Cauliflower and green beans.
All right, so if you were in there, when you were in there for your bacon, if you saw a peek at your vegetables, my vegetables are nowhere near done. Probably because they're on the bottom shelf, but that's okay. I'm gonna leave them in there and we'll come back to the vegetables in a minute, okay? Should hear your bacon doing a little something something at this point. So be mindful. Listen to your nose, listen to your ears. All right, let's check on our bacon. Woo! Yeah, yes, we are getting somewhere. Oh my gosh, that was quick. Really getting somewhere here. So I'm gonna take off the pieces that look done. I've got one more piece right here that looks good to go. And I'm gonna put it back in to continue cooking. And we'll just kind of babysit this as we go. Okay. Burrito bowl.
Laura, here is your reminder. Bacon. Laura, here is your reminder. Bacon.
Alexa, set a timer for 30 seconds.
30 seconds, starting now.
All right, my bacon's almost done. I'm gonna sit here and babysit that. I want you to do the thing. If your bacon is done, let's pull it out. Let's get it off the sheet tray onto a paper towel lined plate or just a plate to get it draining from that bacon grease. We'll let it cool and then we'll chop it, add it to our eggs, add more cheese on top of our eggs, get that oven down to 350 and bake that when it's time. For the white rice bowls, I want you to start by making your white rice or your bonza rice, or if you're doing quinoa or whatever. Alexa, stop. I want you to make that according to the package instructions. The bonza rice and the white rice both have different cooking methods. So go ahead and flip that around and read it and see what you need to do and do that now because I'm using leftover cooked rice, so I'm not making that to this recipe. Okay, now we're definitely cooking with grease here. We're ready to go. My bacon's done, so I'm gonna take it all off and just let it cool. Bacon's quite thin, so it kind of makes it sometimes hard to pull itself off. If some of your bacon is not quite as crispy as you like, you can let it go longer. Use your best judgment. Okay. After we take our bacon out, let's move our vegetables up to the middle rack of the broiler to finish those off. Get some brownie on. So this is my green beans and this is my cauliflower. It doesn't even really look like it's been cooked. It's been in there for a long time. So I'm going to give the cauliflower a mix. And then let's put these on the middle rack of the board. Trying to accelerate things here. This cauliflower mix, be careful not to, mix it too ferociously because turmeric does stain, so you don't want it to fall all over your kitchen. Nice and slow, just give a little zhuzh. Okay, middle rack we go. Alexa, set a reminder for 5 minutes.
What's the reminder for?
Vegetables.
Okay, I'll remind you in 5 minutes.
Okay. So take a look at your vegetables, gauge what reminder or timer you need to set for yourself. I set ours for 5 minutes. If your vegetables are almost done, they just need 3, go ahead and change that for yourself, okay? And then pause this video and cook your white rice or your bonza rice or whatever other grain you're going to prepare according to the package instructions. And let's come back and work on the rest of the dish. All right, so once your bonzo rice is done, let's go ahead and cook our beef. So get yourself a parchment paper lined sheet tray, and we're going to add ground beef. I'm doing the full recipe. I love this meal, and we like to eat this even as a breakfast. But if you find that this portion size is too large for your family, and you would rather just do a half of the recipe, just go ahead and do 1 pound of beef, okay? The beauty of this course is you get to make it however you want. So go ahead and take a spoon and just break up your beef, kind of spread it out onto the sheet tray. Now you can also do, if you wanted to, like some taco seasoning, you could do cumin, coriander, organic chili powder, garlic, onion powder, right? Or get yourself a packet of the Siesta taco seasoning. I don't know if it's organic, but I think some of the ingredients on there might be, you can check. Or maybe, you know, your store has organic taco seasoning. And that would be good on this too. Or maybe in the subsequent days, to switch it up a little bit, you add some taco seasoning, right? Whatever you like. Salt and pepper. Taco seasoning if you're using it. This is gonna go straight into the broiler on the bottom rack. And we're gonna cook it until it's done. We're gonna say probably about 15 to 20 minutes. Alexa, set a reminder for 15 minutes.
What's the reminder for?
Beef.
Okay, I'll remind you in 15 minutes.
All right, so if you were making your bonzo rice, it might be time to check on your vegetables right now. I still have a few minutes to wait for my timer to go off, but just keep that in mind. If you pause the video to make your bonzo rice, it might be time to do your, for your white rice. It might be time to check on your cauliflower and your green beans and pull those out if they're done. All right. If that's the case, pause this video and come back. All right, so now we're gonna take 2 cans of beans that have been rinsed, okay? I pour them over a fine mesh strainer, rinse them until all that goop is off, and then I let them dry. Let's pop that into a bowl. And all we're gonna do here is season our beans with salt and pepper so that when we go to reheat them with the meat and the rice, they taste good. And that's it. You can also put some cumin in here if you want to. I might do that. Since I'm not using the taco seasoning, I'm gonna add a little cumin to this. So if you added taco seasoning, you probably don't need to flavor your beans. So salt, pepper, a little bit of cumin, I think that'll be nice. And then we're just gonna taste it and adjust. And then this will just get reheated when the meat gets warmed up and the rice gets warmed up. Delicious. Beautiful. That's it. So I put them in a Pyrex bowl with a lid. This is a great time to just pop this in the fridge. I already have some leftover sushi rice that we made for Korean night. So this is gonna go in the fridge. When your bonzo rice or your white rice is done, go ahead and let it cool completely, package it up with your beans and pop it in the fridge. Alexa, how much time do I have left on my reminder?
Laura, here are your upcoming reminders. Vegetables, today at 2:57 p.m.
Alexa, stop. All right, we got maybe 30 more seconds. There we go.
Laura, here is your reminder. Vegetables.
Alexa, stop. All right, let's check on our cauliflower and our green beans and see what's going on. If we need to move them even closer to the top of the broiler, we can do that to accelerate things, get some browning on them. Let's check on them. All right, so I moved the rack closer to the broiler. It's not the closest possible point, but it's a one up from the middle, okay? And I put the vegetables on that rack. Now, making sure that your vegetables are covering your parchment paper because you don't want your parchment paper to catch on fire. If you feel like it's safer, you can pull the parchment paper off at this point. But we're going to use our senses and make sure that we're not burning anything. And turn the oven light on, and we're going to watch that. And I set a timer for 3 more minutes. When you first start cooking in the broiler in a cold oven, right? We put the food in and then we turn the broiler on. The oven just wasn't very hot. So that's why it's taking so long. For the next few dishes, it won't take as long to cook everything. All right, so for the rest of this dish, you need some restaurant style salsa. They did not have any at the store, so I had to make my own pico de gallo with just some cherry tomatoes, red onion, cilantro, lime juice, and salt. Tastes amazing. So I'm gonna put this in a little container. You don't have to do anything if you're using the restaurant salsa like the recipe calls for, the store-bought restaurant salsa. Just leave that in its container. Okay. Then you want to take some of your side, like your garnishes, and chop those up. So I'm going to slice up some radishes. I've got some red jalapenos here. You could do red onion, cilantro, limes, cabbage, like whatever you like on tacos or burritos. Let's do it. Since I made a pico de gallo with the cilantro and the onions, I'm not going to do cilantro and onions. I'm just going to do radishes, limes, the pico de gallo, and then the lettuce. Some plain unsweetened vegan yogurt in place of sour cream on top would be great. And then I also got this organic shredded romaine. And package up your sides. Your garnishes. And let's check on our veggies. All right, this is my cauliflower. It's getting some color on it. Let's test it for doneness and see like how soft it is. All right, still a little firm, so I'm gonna let this go a little bit longer. Some of my green beans have got some nice color. They're getting kind of soft and shrunk up, you know? I'm gonna pull my green beans. Your okra was probably done a long time ago. I forgot about that. Okra does not take long to cook. I forgot we were doing that. I can't wait for okra season. Okay, I'm gonna grab one more lime, chop that up, and then we're done with this dish. Well, we still have to wait for the ground beef to cook, obviously, but we're done with the chopping and all that. Okay. Beautiful. All right. So get all of your garnishes packaged up, being mindful to not let our cauliflower burn. We're thinking about it, we're listening to it, we're smelling for it. All right. You can't mistake that cauliflower smell. It's pretty distinct. All right, so there we go. We've got our garnishes for our tacos. You can even add some of that shredded vegan cheese on top of your bowls if you'd like. Pop this in the fridge. And then let's come back to center with the ingredients for our pad thai lettuce cups as we are checking on our turmeric cauliflower and our ground beef. Well, we won't need to check on that just yet. I have some time. But let's tidy up our station, put anything away that can be put away, put anything in the dishwasher that can be put in the dishwasher. Be mindful of our turmeric cauliflower and then come back to center to do our pad thai lettuce cups. All right, my turmeric cauliflower is just about done. Some parts are getting really brown, so I'm going to mix it and kind of give it a rotation in the broiler and do 1 more minute, okay? Go ahead and check yours and see what it needs. It might be done. Mine is just about done. All right. Pad thai lettuce cups. Oh, this is a fun recipe. So grab yourself a parchment paper lined sheet tray. Let's get all of our ingredients out. All right. To your parchment paper lined sheet tray, let's add your ground turkey on one side. To the other side, let's add about, I don't know, like half a bag of coleslaw. Because we're going to go through and pick out any giant pieces that didn't get through the shredder. Don't forget about your turmeric cauliflower, guys. I got 7 seconds left on mine. Any ugly pieces that are brown, take those out. All right, let's check on our cauliflower, get that on the oven. All right, this is what mine looks like. So if you taste yours and you feel like it's ever so slightly like too al dente, just know that as it sits here to cool on this tray, it will continue to carry over cook, and then you get to reheat it, right? So I'm gonna pull mine. It's ever so slightly al dente, but I don't mind because by the time it cools and by the time I reheat it, it's gonna be perfect. And then you just want to taste a piece for salt and pepper and see if it needs more before we cool it down. Kind of a bit more salt. Another addition to this that's really good is adding ghee. Ghee with cauliflower. It's a nice combination. So you could try that next time. All right, let's set that aside. Now back to, sorry guys. Riley. Now back to our pad thai. On one half of the sheet tray, we're going to add our turkey. On the other half of the sheet tray, we're going to add our coleslaw, picking through it to see if there's any giant pieces that didn't get shredded or ugly pieces that turned brown and gross. Spread your turkey out. All right, so just like that, coleslaw on half, turkey spread out on the other. We're gonna add half a container of diced onions to our coleslaw. Again, the store did not have any. I had to cut my own. Woe is me. Spread that out. All right. Now to this, oh, we need to chop up some garlic. I'm sorry. Let's go ahead. You can see my board. A lot of stuff there. Okay. Let's go ahead and chop up 6 large cloves of garlic. So just like we do in our knife skills class, mince these up. Or use the garlic press.
Laura, here is your reminder. Please. Laura, here is your reminder.
Okay, now put your garlic. I had some extra minced, pre-minced garlic that I chopped up yesterday in the fridge, so I'm gonna add that as well. Add your garlic to the veggies. And let's turn our backs and check on our beef that's in the broiler. My thought is it's time to move it up to the middle rack, because we can put this on the bottom rack in a second. Okay, so let's check on our ground beef, maybe give it a mix, and then move it to the middle rack of the oven. Got some nice color on mine. I'm sure you have some nice color on yours as well, but you'll see once you start using your spoon to kind of break it up, it's pretty raw on the inside. So just break it up into slightly smaller pieces, and we'll pop it back in. This is for our burrito bowls. Don't have to be too neurotic about this, but just any large clumps, kind of break it down. Because what we can do is break this up with our hands once it's cooled into smaller pieces. Okay. Could use any ground meat you like, ground chicken, ground turkey, ground venison, ground bison. Anything would work for this, whatever you like and whatever you can tolerate. Okay. And emu would be fine. If you have alpha-gal, that would be great. Okay, spread it back out and let's pop it in the broiler on the middle rack and continue cooking it. Alexa, set a reminder for 5 minutes.
What's the reminder for?
Ground beef.
Okay, I'll remind you in 5 minutes.
All right, so I set my timer for 5 minutes. You need to adjust that based on how cooked your beef is, right? If it's super cooked and it only needs 2 more minutes, please set yourself a timer. If it was really raw and it needs 10 more minutes, go ahead and set yourself a timer. Now back to the pad thai, we are going to drizzle this or spray it with oil. If you have spray, that's even better. I have to drizzle today. Slightly drizzle this, I don't want to overdo it, okay? And then let's hit it with some salt and pepper, not too much for this because we are going to make a sauce that can be salty. We don't want to overdo it, so ever so slightly, a little bit of salt and a little bit of pepper. It doesn't need a ton of pepper either. This is Thai food. It's not, you don't use a lot of black pepper. So let's go ahead and pop this in the broiler on the bottom shelf and we'll set a timer for 10 minutes. And we'll mix it up and we'll add the sauce and we'll make it come together. Alexa, set a reminder for 10 minutes.
What's the reminder for?
Pad thai.
Okay, I'll remind you in 10 minutes.
Okay, so while that's going, let's go ahead and make our sauce. So we're gonna do 3 to 4 tablespoons of coconut aminos, so we can just eyeball it. I'm actually using, oh, I hate that. I'm gonna take this lid off. The little spout thing drives me crazy. It's 2. I'm actually using gluten-free tamari because I didn't have any coconut aminos. And so let's go ahead and start with 3. You can start with 3 or 4. I'm gonna do 4. 4 tablespoons of coconut aminos, a 1/4 cup of fish sauce. This is the hard part because my fish sauce, you can't take the little lid off. So I'm going to shake. Okay, so about a 1/4 cup. You can always add more later. And then 1/3 of a cup of sweetener. So you could do stevia, you could do monk fruit, you could do dark maple syrup, you could do raw honey. 1/3 of a cup. I'm gonna do this brown stevia because I have it out that we used for the brisket. Okay. Now mix it up until the sweetener is dissolved. And we're just gonna taste it and see what it needs. It should be, oh, we need vinegar. I'm like, wait, it should be sour and sweet. Should be vinegar. Let's add 2 tablespoons of vinegar. I'm gonna use apple cider vinegar. Whatever vinegar you have is fine. Organic rice vinegar would be fine here. White wine vinegar, white vinegar, red wine vinegar would all work. So we're going to mix it up until that sweetener is dissolved. We're going to taste it and see what it needs. It should be sour, salty, and sweet. Oh yeah. I just love the flavor of this. It's so good. I'm going to add ever so slightly a little bit more brown sugar, or brown stevia, I should say. Now, I'm not measuring. I recommend you actually measure these recipes I wrote for you by measuring for you. So I would recommend that you measure. Unless you're an advanced cook and you're willing to just eyeball it, go ahead and try it, taste it, and see. Beautiful, beautiful, delicious. All right. So maybe in about 5 minutes, we'll check on the stir fry. We'll give it a mix. We'll add the sauce and continue cooking it. We want to cook it until that raw garlic flavor is taken away. Now, while we're waiting for that, let's go ahead and chop up some scallions. These are from the garden, so I just pop off the green tops, but if you have real scallions, you can use the whole thing, including the white part. I mean, these are real scallions, but I didn't dig them up to get the white part. All right. If you have cilantro and you want to use cilantro, you can go ahead and give that a chop as well. The cilantro that I got from the store was horrible, and so I got a refund for it, but unfortunately I don't have any more cilantro.
Laura, here is your reminder. Ground beef.
All right, let's check on our ground beef.
Laura, here is your reminder. Ground beef.
Oh yeah. Beautiful. That's what my ground beef looks like. Gorgeous. So if your ground beef is done, it would be a good opportunity to go ahead and get a fork in there and give it a taste and see if it needs salt and pepper. Because I feel like it's easier to adjust the flavor when it's hot. Beautiful. Take a fork, cut a piece to make sure that it's cooked through. Mine is done. Take a bite and see, does it need more salt? Does it need more pepper? And then we will set this aside to cool. Mine tastes great. So I'm just going to set this aside to cool. Yeah. Okay. why don't we, for the sake of time, so that we can turn our oven down to 350 so we can bake our eggs, why don't we move our pad thai lettuce cut stuff to the middle rack now that we've taken our beef out, and we'll keep an eye on it. Why don't we give it a toss and move it to the middle? The turkey probably won't need to be mixed, but definitely the vegetables could probably use a mix so that garlic can cook. So just give it a gentle toss, get that garlic all mixed up in there. And then let's put this on the middle rack. Okay, and we'll watch it. We'll come back to it, add the sauce and bring it together. Because we have got to get that oven turned down soon. All right. Now, I think the last thing that we need to do right now, if you're done doing your cilantro, which if you haven't done your cilantro yet, you can go ahead and pause this to chop your cilantro and come back. I think the only other thing we have to do, and this is optional, you don't even have to do this. I'm going to take a handful of cashews and I'm just going to roughly chop them as a garnish. So pad thai normally has crunchy peanuts on top. You know, peanuts are one of those foods that are like, you know, get a high test score when they're tested for mycotoxins, which are toxins that come off from mold. So they're just a moldy food. Mold causes inflammation, which is horrible for you. And we have enough of it in our daily lives from our homes and our offices and goodness knows where else. And so why try to have it in our food, right? And so that's one of the main reasons why I don't use it in the FFA, but I love the crunch on top of pad thai from the peanut. So you can mimic that with cashews. But if you just absolutely 100% need the taste of the peanut, you want to do chopped peanuts, that's fine too. Try to find yourself a raw peanut that's not coated in canola oil. Okay. All right, then you can set your scallions aside. You can set your cashews aside. We will use those as a garnish when we package. Then you can take anything else that you need to take and put away to make space. Look at this giant bag of cashews they gave me. Oh my gosh, Brody. To make space because we are going to chop up our bacon, get that in the bacon, the egg cups, add our cheese on top, and then we're going to move to dessert. We're almost done. Oh, sorry, we have a lime. It's not pad thai without a little citrus, right? So if you want to roll your citrus, push it down and roll to release those juices on the inside. This is a really tough lime. Ooh. Been hard to get juicy limes lately. Just quarter that. I got this other half over here I'm going to use as well. Beautiful. Let me set that aside because we can use that as a garnish as well. Gorgeous. I gotta say, guys, these pad thai lettuce cups are delicious hot or cold. So if you wanted to package them up individually to take to work, you can eat them cold if you needed to. All right, so let's make room, tidy up a little bit, come back with our bacon so we can chop that and get those eggs finished up.
Laura, Here is your reminder. Pad Thai.
Alexa, stop. All right, it's been 10 minutes. Let's check on our turkey pad thai. Ooh, we're getting somewhere actually. So here's what we'll do. Give your veggies a mix. Swear, once you cook it on that middle rack, it takes no time at all. Let's go ahead and give this a mix. Break up our turkey a little bit more. Then we're going to add our sauce. And then we'll turn our oven down because the oven will stay hot for a little bit. And so the residual heat, as it's bringing the temperature down, will continue to cook this through. And then we'll be ready to put our eggs in the oven. Yay! This week is so quick and easy. I love it. Ooh, and I can't wait to make dessert. All right, there we go. The veggies and meat are all mixed. Give your sauce a quick turn because that honey may have melted to the bottom or stuck to the bottom again. Or your stevia may have moved to the bottom, so give it a good mix. And let's drizzle. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. A lot of the stevia ended up staying in the bowl, so I'm just scraping that all out. We want it to be sweet and sour and salty, just like pad thai. You can smell that fish sauce. Look at my mouth water. Let's pop it back on the middle rack. Okay, and now let's turn our oven to bake at 350 so we can make our eggs. All right, once you've got your pad thai back in the oven and you've got your oven set to 350 at bake, let's go ahead and chop up our bacon. Grab our egg bake, right? So I'm just going to line up the bacon side by side, cut it in half, stack it, and slice thin. Okay, and just to make sure that I can easily get these little bacon bits in each one of these muffin tins or cupcake tins, I'm just gonna come through and slice it the opposite way, just to make sure they're small so that they're not hanging out of these muffin tins. Cupcake tins, I don't know why I keep saying muffin tins. You know what I mean. Okay, beautiful. Gorgeous little bacon bits. Let's just divvy this up amongst each of the cups. A 5-finger pinch for each, however much you think you want. You can always start with less, come back and give it more, or save some for a breakfast salad. Do a 5-finger pinch for all and then come back and give each more if I have more. Oh, these are going to be so delicious. Wow, beautiful. All right, and then like a 3-finger pinch for the rest, divvy it up. So they're nice and even. Nobody's fighting over the one that has more bacon. Okay. All right. And then on top of that, all we're going to do now is add some more cheese. All right. So just on top of your muffin tins, a little sprinkle of cheese. Like that. Beautiful, beautiful. This is gonna help add moisture to your eggs. So when you reheat them, they're nice and delicious and moist. All right, so this is what your muffin tin should look like. Cupcake tin, whatever it's called. Oh, it looks so good. Now, let's pop it in the oven on the bottom rack. Okay, we're gonna pop this in the oven on the bottom rack. We're gonna set a timer for 15 minutes because the oven is probably still really hot right now. Okay, it's not at 350 yet. So it's not gonna take a full 20, 30 minutes to cook these. So we'll check them after 15 and we'll go from there. While we're in there, let's pull out our turkey pad time, okay? Oh, it's so beautiful. It's so fragrant. Oh, it smells so good. You don't like fish sauce.
Hey,
Yeah, I got one thing to put there. Well, actually, I got two, but Yasani forgot to give it to me. Yasani got me a cookbook. What?
it's a book.
It's a cookbook
It's cool.
for cookies. Yasani has a chocolate one. She paid for it.
That's cool.
Actually, she can keep both of them because we can get it at the book fair today.
Did you buy at the book fair?
And so I don't have $2. You know,
Okay, look at those two.
what? Oh.
And
Simba doesn't go after her. Coco does. Coco goes after Simba. Oh, and I have my how good I'm doing in my back. It's very important.
so how are you doing?
Did I set a reminder? Alexa, when's my next reminder?
Laura, here are your upcoming reminders. Brisket, today at 6:26 p.m.
Alexa, stop.
Quiet menu, every
Alexa,
Friday at
Alexa,
9 a.m.
Alexa, stop. Alexa, set a reminder for 15 minutes. Alexa, set a reminder for 15 minutes.
What's the reminder for?
Eggs.
Okay, I'll remind you in 15 minutes.
Okay. We set a reminder for our eggs. Our pan pie is done. Our brisket vegetable side dishes are done. Our components for our burrito bowls are done. Let's go ahead and tidy up our station, getting rid of anything we can get rid of, putting anything away we can put away. We're done with the oil now. Let's go ahead and tidy up our station. I'm gonna wash my cutting board because of the bacon. We're gonna come back with the ingredients for our cherry cheesecake cups. I'm doing raspberry cheesecake. And if you made brisket with me, go ahead and take your tongs and get in there and flip your brisket around and give it a mix so that that can cook more evenly too. And let's come back in a second. Wow, that brisket is insanely large. It took me tongs and a spoon to get it to turn it over. Oh my gosh. All right, so let's get started on our cheesecake cherry cups. All right, so first thing we need to do is make our fruit stock. Okay, so this is technically a coulis, C-O-U-L-I-S, and we are going to do it with cherries if you're following the recipe, or I'm going to do raspberries today because that's just what I had. So we need 1 cup of frozen fruit. We even do it with strawberries. So put 1 cup of your frozen fruit into a pot. We need 6 to 8 tablespoons of sweetener. So you could do raw honey, you could do stevia, you could do whatever you like. I'm going to do stevia. So I'm going to do 6 tablespoons of stevia. Looks like 6 tablespoons. We need 3 teaspoons of lemon juice, which is 1 tablespoon, which is about half a lemon. So go ahead and squeeze half a lemon into your pot. Oops, I got a seed in there. All right, now we're going to put this on the stove on like medium high, bring it up to a boil, and then we're going to stir it and cook it until it's thick. We're going to taste it and add more sweetener or more lemon juice and make it taste how we want. Then we're going to cool it. So go ahead and pop your coulis on the stove on medium high. We'll watch it, we'll listen to it, we'll come back to it, and we'll stir it, okay? We're going to try to bring it up to a boil, then we'll turn it down to probably medium, low, and cook it until it's thick. All right. Now, let's get into our, do we need salt? I don't think so. Let's get into our stand mixer, or if you're using a hand mixer, pull that out. Into the stand mixer is going to go a container of vegan cream cheese. This is actually the Simple Truth brand. You want to use it when it's at room temperature, right? So hopefully you pulled this out in the beginning while you were mise-en-posing, because that makes it easier to whip. So go ahead and remove the contents of your vegan cream cheese and pop it into the stand mixer. As I was saying, this is the Simple Truth brand. I prefer the taste of this taste is fine. I like the taste of BioLife. That would be my first choice. But the nutrition of the Kite Hill, I think, is superior because it has some protein in it, because it's made from almonds. This one has 0 grams of protein. So BioLife, the Simple Truth, and there's one other brand that tastes good. They're plain cream cheese, but they don't have protein. So I usually go for the Kite Hill, even though it's a little bit more tangy. The only dairy-free cream cheese that I do not recommend, I personally don't like the taste of it, I think it tastes horrible, is from Miyoko's. For Miyoko's, stick to the butter. Their cheeses, their cream cheeses, not good. Save your money. Okay. All right, so to this, we need to add 3/4 of a cup of dairy-free whipped cream, or Cool Whip. So this is not a flare-free product, okay? It does contain, inflammatory oils. It also contains sugar, right? So if you wanted to go without this, you could whip up yourself a can of coconut cream. I've tried to do that. I used to make whipped coconut cream all the time for my catering company, and I've tried to do it a couple times over the last 2 years in the Flare Free Academy using various different brands of coconut milk. And for some reason, they're not whipping up anymore. So I don't know if with shrinkflation or whatnot, the properties or what they're actually giving us inside the coconut milk, if it's more coconut milk than like that creamy fat that you get on top. For some reason, it's not whipping up anymore. So I have just stuck to the Cool Whip, the vegan Cool Whip. There are several different brands. This is the one that I have right now. So all of that to say, this is not technically 100% flare free because it does have those oils and it does have the sugar, but it's dessert and it's not every day and it's once in a while and it's a little bit. So it should be fine, but just gauge it for your body. If this causes you to have a flare up, then you know you need to adjust, okay? All right, so to this, we need another 4 to 6 tablespoons of sweetener. I'm going to use this powdered swerve that I have. It's basically erythritol. Normally I would use like powdered monk fruit or powdered stevia, but they didn't have any, so this is what I bought. You can use honey, you can use dark maple syrup, you can use stevia, powdered stevia, monk fruit, powdered monk fruit, whatever you like the taste of. Okay, let's add a teaspoon of vanilla. Obviously, you can actually measure all of these things, but this recipe is also very forgiving. So if you eyeball it, we're going to taste it and add more. If it needs more vanilla, if it needs more sweetener, we can absolutely do that. All right, so that's it. Now we're going to whip this up until it's light and fluffy, and we're just going to put them in little mason jars. So I have 3 small ones and then 3 large ones. And let's check on our, let's get our little spatula and check on our fruit coulis and see how it's going. All right, I just gave mine a stir. It's not even bubbling yet. It needs a little bit more time, but I have a gas, or I have an electric oven. So if you have a gas stove, it probably is already there. If your fruit is bubbling, turn it down to medium low. We're just going to cook it until it gets a little bit thicker, and we're going to taste it and see if it needs anything, adjust it, and then we're going to cool it. Then we're going to spoon it on top of our cheesecake. So let's go ahead and turn this on. It's going to get very loud. Let me see if I can mute this. I'm going to mute my camera so it's not too loud. All right. I had my splash guard on wrong, so as I was fixing that, Alexa went off and told me that the eggs need to be checked on. So it has been 15 minutes for our eggs. Let's get into the oven and see, are they done? So we've cooked these eggs before. We've baked multiple eggs in the oven before. The eggs should puff up in size, and in the center, we don't want to see any runny yolk or runny eggs. So let's check on it. Wow. Okay, my eggs are definitely done. That was the quickest we've ever made eggs before, I think. Hopefully the bottoms aren't burnt. So go ahead and check your eggs and see if they're puffed up like this. I can already tell they're done, but you can always pop your finger in the center and see if any running egg is coming out. So now, if your eggs are done like mine are, we can turn the oven off. If they need more time, pop them in, set a timer for yourself. Let's give those a couple seconds to kind of cool down, and we'll take them out of the muffin tin so that they can stop cooking. But let's give it a second because it's very hot. Okay, my sauce is starting to boil, but you can see it's very runny still. Oh my gosh, it's gonna be so good. Now, what I normally do for a coulis is I actually blend it up. You can blend it in a blender, you can use a stick blender. I'm probably, just for the sake of ease and also just to have a little texture, I'm probably gonna leave this whole because these are raspberries, but for the cherries, you might want to blend that up. You can also leave chunks of cherries, that's totally fine. Use your best judgment to see what works best for you. If you want those chunks of cherries or if you want it smooth. Now back to blending. Okay, so that was whipping for 60 seconds. Why don't you stop it and let's scrape down the sides and let's do it for another 60 seconds. We want to try to get as many lumps out of this cream cheese as possible. Make it look nice and pretty. Most important thing is the taste. Because they're going to be in cups anyway with the sauce on top. Let's do another 60 seconds. Okay. Let me show you what mine looks like. What my cream cheese filling looks like. Okay. You can scrape down the sides, pop it back in and do another 60 seconds if you'd like. Or you can call it a day and serve it like so. I'm gonna do another 60 seconds. See if we can get any more of these lumps out. And then check on your Mine has thickened up nicely. As it cools, it's going to continue to cook or continue to thicken up. Okay, so I'm going to pull it right now and let it cool. I think what we should do actually to accelerate the cooling process is actually take it out of the pan pot and let's pop this in the fridge. So if you feel like you'd rather have a puree, you can take a stick blender, immersion blender, and puree it up, or pop it in a blender and puree. I'm gonna pop this in the fridge to cool as is. So go ahead and pause this if you need to, if you want to blend up your coulis and then pop it in the fridge to cool. And then let's blend it for 60 more seconds, or let's whip it for 60 more seconds on high. Turn the volume off. All right, that looks good to me. Let's taste it to make sure it doesn't need anything else, okay? So go ahead and get a spoon in there and taste it for sweetness, taste it for vanilla. Oh my gosh. It's just so good. If you don't like the flavor, viewers, if you feel like it's too tangy from the vegan cream cheese, go ahead and add more sweetener. I love to use the powdered sweetener, right? Because it dissolves quickly, because you could just fold that in at this point. You don't even really have to beat it. I love the way it tastes, so I'm gonna leave it as is. Scrape the sides down. I have another spoon. Take a spoon and fill up my cups halfway with cheesecake filling. And then we'll top it with the filling. And also add berries on top. Chocolate chips are nice. Shaved chocolate. Shaved white chocolate. You know, Lily's is my favorite for unsweetened, well, stevia sweetened chocolate. They even have a white chocolate if you want. Oh my gosh. This is just ridiculously good. Such a treat. That's too much. Gotta go back to my spoon. Okay, try to evenly distribute another spoonful so they're all even. Beautiful. Wow. That is a treat. Guys, how lucky are we? Get to indulge. Responsibly. I'm just gonna wipe off the edges. Tidy these up a little bit. That needs to get down in there. Oh my gosh, I made a mess. These are much easier to do in the smaller cups. It's hard to do with these large mason jars. Hard to get it down in there. Wow. It's so good. Now, inside my holiday baking ebook, I do have like the full recipe with like the cheese or the graham cracker crust. But to make this easy, I just stop it here. Okay. And you can serve it with some siete cookies or some gluten-free graham crackers. What's the brand? Simple Mills has these cute little like what do you call it? These cute little like they're like honey thins. They're called honey thins and they're diamond shaped. They're like graham crackers. Those are beautiful too. So you can put your coulis on top, put a little bit of a cookie, maybe some hemp seeds, some berries, some dark chocolate chips, whatever you prefer, and make it look beautiful and have fun with it. Close them up and pop them in the fridge. So when you have a sweet tooth, you have a dessert ready to go. Let's go ahead and check on our eggs and then we're done for today. Let's see if they come out easily. Or did we mess it up? Yay, okay, they're coming out beautifully, great. Okay. So, I hope yours didn't burn. 15 minutes is all it took. This is what mine looks like. It's so beautiful. You did an amazing job today. Thank you so much for joining me for week 7. Set a timer for yourself. Alexa, how much time do I have left on my reminder?
Laura, here are your upcoming reminders. Brisket, today at 6:26 p.m.
Alexa, set a timer for yourself for 6:30 to check your brisket. You want to cook it until it's tender, until you can slice it. The internal temperature of the thickest part of the brisket should reach 180. Okay. So set a reminder for yourself, package everything up, and have the best week. I'm so glad that you were here to join me for another week of the Meal Prep Solution, and I look forward to seeing your meal prep in the group. So go ahead and share pictures of your creations today and let me know how these meals serve you and your family. Bye.